I started dancing at the age of 4. It was like a local dance school. And I remember seeing Nureyev on the telly. That's what inspired me, with black and white TVs. And I remember the Shah cease whatever he was doing. And as a child, I thought he was actually changing his legs. You know, it's like, wow, this is like an illusion. It's incredible. And the power. And so I started going to a local dance school. I auditioned for the Royal Ballet School when I was 10, and I got in, and then I was there for 5 years. Unfortunately, I didn't get into the upper school, but I think it's a good thing, because I think sometimes when you go through challenges in your life, it builds your character. And I ended up going to Rambert, learning some contemporary, and then Central School of Ballet. And then my first professional job was with Vienna Festival Ballet, where I'd be touring all around Austria and Germany on a coach, Swan Lake, to 16 people some nights and 2,000 people other nights. Great experience. And then my other professional job was with Scottish Ballet, where I danced for 4 years under Peter Darrell, amazing company. And then I auditioned for Birmingham Royal Ballet, which I never thought I'd get in, because at the age of 16, they said, there's no way that you'll make a classical dancer. So there I was auditioning for Birmingham Royal Ballet, Sadler's Wells at the time. I managed to get a contract, and then I was there for 8 years. It was hard work, and I loved most of it. But, you know, it's like it's a very competitive environment, isn't it? You have to get up every day, you have to do class every day, you have to rehearsals, and then you're rehearsing for the next show. You know what it's like. Got a triple bill, then you work rehearsing for the full length, and you know, so it's full on the hours. And but I did love, you know, there was part of it that I really loved. There were certain roles that I really loved. I used to love the dramatic ballets. I'd say I wasn't a great technician, but anything dramatic. That's why I love Macmillan so much, because his ballets were, and I know we were speaking earlier about, like, one of the highlights of my career was working in a studio with Macmillan. It was like, he was like a god for me. And he liked me as well. He saw something in me. And I love his ballets, because they've always got something to do with the human condition. And I think part of that is why I started Fallen Angels, because I'm really interested in the human condition, not just looking at a technical, you know, ballet dancers are amazing technically, and you know, the bodies and the training and everything, but when you see somebody that's a real artist that has that emotional integrity, it can really take your breath away. The last year or two, I got sort of sick of touring, and as you know, it's the sort of job that you have to love it, because you're in the theatre 12 hours a day, you're touring 6 days a week, then you're traveling on Sunday and then back on Monday, you know, and so you have to live, eat, sleep and breathe it, basically. And I think my heart wasn't in it the last year, and I started to get unwell because I was drinking. I had childhood trauma, which I've now been diagnosed with complex PTSD, neurodiverse, ADHD, dyslexia. So all these things that I was kind of holding on to, I started to self-soothe, they call it, so that, like, self-medicate. And I was starting to experiment with different drugs. First it was weed, then it was ecstasy, then it, you know, it was drink the whole way through. I mean, I couldn't work out why I was always drinking with the stage crew. I was always the first in the pub with them, and I was always the last to leave. Everybody else would go off. But I didn't realize I was wired up differently to other people, that I have an illness, physically and bodily. I'm mentally different to, say, my wife, that can have one drink. And then I ended up going to meetings, and I managed to get some recovery behind me. But, you know, there's no kind of self-pity in that. It's just, that's what happened. And I'm really glad those things did happen, everything that happened to me, because it's got me to the place of, I understand myself. And as I said before, it's like, there's no pain, there's no progress without some kind of pain. Then my sponsor says, the strongest swords, I think it's a Buddhist thing, the strongest swords are cast out in the hottest fires. But when you're going through that heat, it's intense. But when you come out the other side, it's pretty powerful. Yeah. When I first got into recovery, it was Dancers Career Development that gave me that grant, and I became a teacher, the RAD. I did a diploma, and then I went to the Royal Ballet School. Jay Jolly, who was there, he gave me a job working back at the Royal Ballet School 21 years later with Kenneth Tharp, creating a piece. So I started to get into choreography, and it all kind of stemmed from that, little bit of help from DCD, and then from that I started to teach, doing ballet, Northern Ballet School, and then Hammond, and started to explore my own journey. Met my wife, who's a contemporary dancer, and started to look at choreography, movement, and I was dancing at the time. I think it's really difficult because with dancers, if that's all you've ever known, it is such a hard transition. It's almost like learning to walk again, and I think with DCD, it put me on my feet, because I didn't have any money. I wasn't earning, I wasn't earning a wage, so funds were tight as well. So it was almost like that little bit of intervention was a catalyst to propel me into being a teacher, that allowed me to start experimenting with choreography, that allowed me to start Fallen Angels. You see what I mean? It kind of all stems from that moment. If you pinpoint little bits in your life, you think, right, that was a pivotal moment that it really helped me, and I'll be forever grateful for that support. So you're doing class every day for 20, 30 years, whatever, and then all of a sudden but you never think it's going to end because you don't know anything else. And then all of a sudden it ends, and that's when everything imploded with me, because I kind of felt that I lost my identity. Obviously I had my addiction, mental health, adversity, but I think it was just holding me together, that structure and discipline. You don't realize how it's going to affect you until you're at the other side of it, because it's like breathing, isn't it? That's all you've ever done, and all of a sudden somebody says, and it's quite, it's a very hard transition. That's probably why I ended up, I think I was heading into treatment anyway, but everything just imploded because I didn't have the structure. Fallen Angels, it's incredible. The people that I work with, just so inspirational. But if you'd have said to me 15 years ago, you'll be working with people that have never danced before, or on the pathway to recovery or mental health, and they're going to perform at the Opera House, and I'd be like, you're mad. Even though I was in recovery myself, but the people that we work with, really inspirational. They teach me so much about, movement, because I know, like with ballet, it's very structured and it's beautiful, and I really admire it. But when you see somebody moving from the soul, that vulnerability is a real strength, because they're kind of opening up. You saw the improvisation today, and they were in the moment, and seeing how dance can heal people internally, because a lot of people have got the trauma's trapped in the body. So by releasing it in a safe environment, you see them heal from the inside, because there's that thing, the only way out is in. We can do therapy, which is great. We can do meetings, recovery meetings, great. But I think bodily, we hold a lot of stuff as well. And when you see people healing through movement and having fun with it as well, it just blows me away. I just get, it's incredible. For anybody changing career, do something that you're really passionate about. And I know when you leave your career, it's a massive change, but knowing that change is opportunity for growth, and something beautiful will come out of it as long as you're invested internally.